morning, good morning, good morning. Liam Murphy here, back to try to take down another best ball tournament this morning on DraftKings. As you can hear, still feeling a little under the weather, so sorry I didn't have a stream yesterday. DraftKings is known a bit more as the Wild West of best ball land, where you can get some wild people doing wild things. So I decided not to socialize this one until the draft started, which it did. And big news here, ladies and gentlemen, we have officially crossed the 420 barrier. That would be 4.2K subscribers. So we're closing in on the road to 5K. Thank you for being here. Please like and subscribe to the video. Good morning. Let's go. For those who subscribe to beatbestball.com, check it out if you don't. I'll have fresh ranks after this video here. Going to jump in there. Typically do that weekly. Of course, yesterday was Memorial Day. So happy Memorial Day weekend to everyone. I'm also sitting in the 555 lobby. So if that one happens to fill while we're doing this, which has happened to be on stream before and I auto drafted, we'll jump on over to that one and we'll stream a high stakes draft. You may be wondering, why are people doing some of these drafts so early? Well, there's strategy reasons I've written about, but also DraftKings is offering a rake back program for the month of May, where basically the way it works out, to check out the promotion on your own time, but for every 5 drafts you do, you get one free. So it's a 20% rake back. But it's capped at 5 free tickets. So if you do 25 DK Milli teams or 1.5 Milli teams, you'll get 5 freebies. Same if you do in the 555. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for everyone for being here. Yep, John's talking about it here. Do 25, 5 free teams. And I would have done 25 on launch day, but I was really sick that day. I had like food poisoning or something. I can't remember. So let's see what we get here. We're already seeing some NFL team logos. This guy here has got Josh Allen. This is obviously a Packers fan. This guy seems a bit like an Eagles fan. And maybe this is the Browns logo. So we'll have to see if that means anything. Amon-Ra, the 105. Jefferson, the 106. I think that's a toss-up. Do you prefer the better offense? Or do you prefer probably the better player? And, the rookie offers an unknown. The rookie quarterback, that is. Okay, at the 110, I think Garrett Wilson is a sneaky candidate to be the number 1 wideout this year. Just with lacking target competition, but we're going to go A.J. Brown. I still think he has a huge single week upside. I don't expect the Cowboys to be able to slow him down, who he plays week 17 when all the money's won. And it sets up a nice stack with Hurts in the 3rd round. We see this guy wild card, Josh Allen at the 2-1. Let's go. Yeah, and this is a weird spot. Again, I got to update my ranks a little bit, but they're mostly good. There's only a couple players late I want to move up. So we'll go Drake London, who could be more of a PPR scam than A.J. Brown, right? A.J. Brown, we know, has huge weekly ceilings. 36 points, 33 points, 41 points. But he's not a PPR scam guy. I mean, he's not going to give you those 10, for 100 yards type stat lines usually. Jonathan Taylor and Saquon, I think, offer an interesting dynamic where they're playing aside rushing quarterbacks, but at the same time, we don't really like the backups. So, and we're expecting them to be the goal line backs. So compared to James Cook, who goes in the 5th round, playing alongside Josh Allen, James Cook is not going to be the goal line back, most likely. And we kind of like his RB2 in Ray Davis. Not the same thing with JT and Saquon. However, they're both not my favorite clicks because I just struggle to see the touchdown upside with each of them. With JT, of course, I'm confident JT. Sorry, guys. I'm confident JT could take a ball 80 yards and go score still. He's young. He's still fast. I think he could do that. Saquon, I don't know what kind of long speed he still has. He's not going to be Austin Eckler getting ran down like last year after he was injured, but I don't think he's quite as explosive anymore. He's got some age. However, the Saquon angle is kind of like CMC going from the Panthers to the 49ers, which you can squint and see, right? You could say, hey, this guy is the best back that's ever been there. Now he's playing on the best team he's ever played for. What if he is just like 21 points per game or higher? And, so it offers a little bit of an angle to whatever you prefer there. Man, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know if it's allergies, sickness, or what, but anyway, structurally, I usually prefer going wide out over them. And some people struggle with this. They're like, why would I take Brandon Ayuk, who I know is going to score less points than some of these running backs? Well, I mean, A, you don't know that. And B, you can't just take it round by round and be like, look, I prefer this running back because he might score more points. I would argue that Saquon has to score maybe 100 more points than Ayuk to pay off, right? Because in round 6, you can get a running back who can score maybe 50 points less than Saquon. Or later, right? So you got to think through the 2v2s a little bit more. Do you prefer Ayuk and James Cook, or do you prefer Saquon and Xavier Worthy? Michael Pittman's not a guy I take really ever. I have him just because I have him ranked back here, and he was going ahead of here, but I think Anthony Richardson is a sneaky bet to be QB1 this year. He's not a guy I've taken a lot of either. And so we'll set up like a Hurts Anthony Richardson team. That'd be fun. And we get this guy who just rips Hurts, which that's okay. Because I get to take my pick of my favorite wideouts here. And we'll go Metcalf. And we still have the Anthony Richardson stack, possibly. One guy got mad that I drank water in an hour-long stream last video. I used to be a teacher, where you talk by yourself for an hour a lot. You're interacting, but Tell me you've never talked for an hour. Be like, I can't believe this guy's drinking water. Do you have a tight end that is a sleeper? On my site right now, beatbestball.com, you can check that out. I'm writing an article about the late round tight ends and the tight ends I like as bets. So it's going to have some research on it too. So I would just say check out that article. Put a lot of work into that site. So that's one I'm going to hold close to the vest. Pacheco going at 4-5, kind of a wild card there. I got Pacheco in the 5th round yesterday on Underdog. Will Levis, I like Will Levis as a late round bet. You know, the guy throws it deep. He got a huge upgrade in supporting cast. He's probably not good, but who cares, right? He's throwing to Hopkins. He's throwing to Calvin Ridley, Tony Pollard, and Tajay Spears. They're putting resources onto the offense. I'm willing to bet on that guy giving you some weeks. And I don't, like, who could he even be benched for, you know? Kelsey is a steal on both sides. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of love for Mark Andrews. I just prefer younger players, right? Players who I don't have to worry about. Are their snaps being managed for the playoffs? Players who I don't have to worry about. Are they going to lose a step? And so that makes me prefer Laporta, makes me prefer McBride and Kincaid. I think it could be argued Kelsey is hurt a little bit by the Chiefs having a grown-up wide receiver room and not this Mickey Mouse rotation they had, right? Worthy and Hollywood are much better than MVS and Justin Watson. Like, so much better. Andy Reid also said Kelsey was being managed for the playoffs. So if the Chiefs, you know, what if the Chiefs lock up the bye and they're load managing Kelsey down the stretch? On the other hand, you know, I get it, right? Like, even with the load managing, he's a solid guy here, right? You'll take 12 points. You'll take 19, 22, 24, 38. This was his regular season. Wasn't worth a first-round pick, right? But also not quite the same. And, you know, who knows what a full offseason does when you're married to a billionaire or soon to be, if he marries Taylor Swift. So I like Kelsey. I'm probably not going to take him at the 3.3. But, you know, like, bets like this. Let's take Richardson just because both of these guys have shown to be absolute wild cards. This guy going Josh Allen in the 2nd round and this guy going Hurts and 3 running backs. Like, those are drafters you don't trust on the inside of you to do logical things. Okay. Yeah, I thought Worthy was a bad click in the 5th round, and I haven't taken a lot of him. But when he falls to the 6th, which he is doing on DraftKings, I think it's a good time to mix him in. It's also nice that I have 4 vets here, and so I can kind of carry a slow Worthy start. And I think, you know, the Mahomes had such a low ADOT last year that I think they're going to try to throw down the field this year with Worthy, with Hollywood. Hair on 10 this AM? Yeah. I'm going to do something fitness related after this. So, haven't showered yet. If Laporta exceeds last year's numbers, where is he drafted next year? Too granular of a question to me. The bigger question is, how does the whole tight end pool do? I mean, Kincaid is drawing incredibly live to be the #1 target in Buffalo. Right? Like, I like Keon Coleman. Maybe Keon Coleman's approaching 1,000 yards, but maybe he's approaching 500. In which case, Kincaid may be closer to 1,200. You know, on cue here from Bindles. McBride, I think, could be a 1B to Marvin, but almost never the 1A. Laporta would require Amon-Ra to be hurt to become the 1. So, and he also ran a bit hot on touchdowns. He just did, right? But he's solid, right? Mark Andrews, I'm just a bit spooked by the injury. And also, he's diabetic. I like Zay Flowers. So I mix him in, but I've not gotten him enough. Kyle Pitts, at his cost, I like to bet on the Kyle Pitts resurgence. Similar bet to Drake London, except he's been injured. This guy, you know, you want this guy in your draft here. David Njoku in the 5th round. No offense if you're watching, but that's terrible. George Kittle, I don't know why we do this with George Kittle. Every year we find a reason to not draft George Kittle. I love George Kittle, right? The dude's got a huge weekly ceiling. Who goes? And then you got Ferguson and Bowers. And even Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram drawn live to be a PPR scam. Ferguson could be the 2nd target on his team, which, you know, okay, it's like pedestrian. Showed a huge weekly ceiling. You know, first time really full starting there. And if he's like, I think he can just regularly give you 15 PPR points. I think Goddard can be around 10 points per game. Schultz can be around 10 points per game. Bowers is a wild card, but I think he has a huge weekly ceiling with this like end around and such. So it kind of depends what the whole tight end pool does. And I'm just prone to draft the younger guys. Because what's not to like, you know? Like, people are trying to view Kincaid. Like, look how Kincaid ended the year, you know? Look at this stretch. Don't look at this stretch. These were his first games in the NFL. And also, like, okay, the Bills won 38-10. They won 37-3. They won 48-20. Those aren't games you establish the pass in, right? Yeah, so let's go Ferg. He's a nice, you know, he's not that different from Evan Ingram, other than the fact that Ingram could be the 3, right? Brian Thomas Jr. could for sure surpass Ingram in preference. All right, let's take Christian Watson and be done at wideout. We're going 6 wideouts only, which is a thin amount. But what it allows you to do is it allows you to go like, the guy could go 2 QB, 2 tight end, 10 running backs. And be like, okay, none of these guys are probably contributing, but I got 10 of them. Only need like 3 to break out. Kincaid has the best shot to replace Kelsey as the 1-2 turn the next year. Yeah, I mean, I think all the tight ends are undervalued, and that's evident in my rankings, where if you had told me, like when I was just trying to like think through ranks before we saw ADPs, if you had told me Laporta, McBride, Kincaid, Andrews, Kelsey were all 2-3 turn, I would have said, great, let's do it. Right? Because, okay, Devonta Smith, he averaged 15 points per game, right? Can McBride average 15 points per game where he did 11 last year? Absolutely. So you're getting a tight end who can score similar to a wideout we like. And then it's just a structural question of what is the value of locking up your tight end versus knowing the fact that you need to start 3 wideouts a week every single week. And what does that do to us, right? But if Kincaid versus Kirk, I'm a big Kirk guy. I think Kirk could be around 15 points per game, which is that's good, right? Like that's what Amari Cooper was last year, in which case he got a bogus 50-point game. Can Kincaid average the same points as Kirk? 100%. Right? Seems kind of likely. So anytime you can get a tight end that averages the same as a good wideout, that just seems like a big advantage to me. I'm going to go into some more articles detailing this, but the basic thought process is you're trying to think through how can I build a super team? And if you're penciling in 4 points at a tight end spot, that's not a super team, period. Right? You have to start a tight end every single week. It's one of your 8 positions, right? So that matters, right? And can you make it up with volume? Can you make it up with 3 scrubs? Maybe. TJ Hawkinson could be a steal. I think TJ Hawkinson is extremely overvalued. Like I had over 20% of TJ Hawkinson last year, who was the tight end 1 for a while until he got hurt. And a lot of the other content creators and nerds were being like, "Oh, TJ Hawkinson, he doesn't have XYZ stats. He doesn't have the open score or whatever." I was just like, look, you got Kirk Cousins. I know he's going to throw for a lot of yards, so a top-down approach, keep it simple. You got we know Kirk Cousins will target the tight end. And you got Jordan Addison, a rookie, who I think he could surpass as the 2. And that thesis played out. Yes, injuries helped, but he was a huge PPR scam and just like a consistent 8 yards, catch it, do that a bunch in a game. And that's really valuable, right? And people have come around on that archetype. That's all you have to be. That's all. Kincaid only has to be TJ Hawkinson, right? This year, though, I think he's being overdrafted off of that injury. Like, I'm not anticipating him to play till like November. So that's just, that's a bit tight. Sure. Anytime you can go Anthony Richardson and Jaden Daniels, 2 week 14 buys, but so be it, And I wasn't, like, okay, I could stack Kirk Cousins, I could stack Geno, but both those guys are not the most comfortable clicks in the world. All right, so we're going with our 2-2 thesis. Goddard and Ferguson, who play each other week 17, the tight end bowl. Jaden Daniels and Richardson, and we're just taking 10 running backs. This is an extreme build, right? You only need to start 2 running backs a week, so mathematically that would tell you not to do what I'm doing. But in my mind, I got a tight end each week who's at least probably giving me 10 points a week. That's 170 points. I got a quarterback who all but week 14 should be giving me 20-plus points. I got wideouts who can reach 20 points in a given week. All of them, all 6. And I'm going to take 10 running backs and just hope I hit some Kyrens, some Mosterts, etc. Now, these are the running backs that are the best bets in these later rounds, right? From Zamir White on. So I'm not getting those guys. But, we're going to roll the dice on some later guys. And maybe I'll add a third quarterback. Probably not. But, if Kirk Cousins is there and it's like Kirk Cousins versus Bucky Irving, maybe I'll go Kirk. You're just better off making this a 2-8-8-2? I could. Right? I mean, if I suffer some injuries, okay, I'm going to lose. So be it. But the idea is my running backs are not going to be good. So I want a lot of bullets there. I can start 3 running backs if need be. And if I'm right on these picks, I'm already set at wideout. Like, I don't need Bateman. I don't need Zay Jones here. And yeah, there are some guys I like late, but I like to build some extreme ones like this. Like, here's an example of one of an article on extreme builds. And it's also an underused build. I think this strategy is best used from the back half of drafts too, by the way. Like, this team here was a 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 5, 2. And it's the same idea. Now, I only went 3 quarterbacks because I stacked them, but I could have gotten away with 2, right? Just going Dak and Purdy, or Dak and Love. And then I took 8 darts at running back. J.K. Dobbins got hurt. Charbonnet disappointed. Tajay Spears was okay. Kendra got hurt. Chuba was good. Sean Tucker was a 0. Kyron hit, and Ty Chandler hit. So I took 8 darts at running back, and I really only got 3 solid guys: Chuba, Kyron, and Ty. At wideout, I got A.J. Brown, Lamb, and Samuel, who absolutely smashed. Christian Watson got hurt, and Gabe Davis was what he was. He gave you some weeks. And then I got 2 studs at tight end. Right? And that team advanced. Won its pod and advanced in the quarterfinals. Oh, God. We were on the clock. We almost messed that up, but we got... I mean, I would have been auto Jerome Ford, who I'm happy to get. And by the way, if Christian Watson and Pickens didn't break week 16 that year, we would have done even better. Probably would have made the finals with that squad. Did the high stakes one fill? No, my friend. It's at 4 out of 12. And it fills really slow right now. I mean, these are 2 great running backs, by the way, to tack on when you're going with this method. What do you think of Justice Hill? I think Justice Hill is a replaceable talent. If you have a lean that he's preferable over Rasheen Ali, go for it. I prefer to draft Rasheen Ali, who has a hurt pec, so that's not good. Where can we find... Let's try to find that team. No, not the quarterfinals. We want to find the regular season. Week 15. Oh, this is week. Okay, so we got to find that one. Dak, Love, Purdy. Yeah, got first in his pod. by the way, by over 100 points. Obviously, why? Because it hit on Kyren Williams. And so does that archetype exist? And these are the points I got on the year, right? I got 164 from Kyren. I got 93 points from Chuba, 70 points from Tajay, 50 from Charbonnet. J.K. Dobbins got hurt the first week. Sean Tucker was a total 0. Kendre was near 0. Ty Chandler was near 0. So really it was just like Kyren and scrubs. And then at wideout, all these guys balled. Tight end I smashed too. And quarterback we smashed. So it's the reverse of the hyper fragile running back, right? Where you go 4 running backs to begin, and then you go like 12 wideouts. This is the opposite of that. And I think it's even better. Blake Corum might be better than Kyren. Yeah, people love to say that. I'm still drafting Kyren. Blake Corum's more athletic. Let's just do this in case we auto. My opinion's changed on some of these running backs, so I need to... Like something like, here's an example of not drafting purely off ranks. I rank Ray Davis ahead of Wright, and I think that's correct. But I usually draft Wright ahead of Ray because his ADP is higher. And so I think it's more likely I can get Wright and Ray if I do it this way. How far off was it in week 15, week 16? I mean, in like a regular year where George Pickens and Amari Cooper didn't break fantasy, it probably would have advanced. See, this is exactly what we wanted. We wanted to get Wright, who's a huge upside swing, but is drawing very live to be a 0. And Ray, who I don't think he's quite as high of an upside swing, but I think Ray is very likely to be around 10 points per game. So this is it advancing, barely advanced in week 15. It got Purdy, it got Chuba, it got Kyren, and it got Ty. Samuel, Lamb, A.J. Brown, and Kittle. Those are my playoff ones. Where's the week 16? I was looking at that earlier. The quarterfinals. Oh, yeah. I didn't make much money that week. That's why. Because you already paid. Okay, so I scored 135 this week with Love's 23, Kyren and Chuba. Got a 20 burger from Gabe that week, 22 from Lamb. Like, this is like great for half point. And then Kittle gave me 16 points. So you would think like, hey, like this is actually a really good week, 135, which it is. But unfortunately, it was just kind of a high scoring week in general. So that guy matched us with Kittle. This was like a normal team that beat us. But the rest had, okay, DJ Chark random week beat us. That's going to happen. Right? A George Pickens week is like the rest of the teams. The rest of the teams had like George Pickens or Cooper. George Pickens, Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper. So, like, not counting Pickens and Cooper, who broke it. And by the way, Christian Watson was hurt, so it was really only a 4 wideout team. And that's the downside of these extreme builds, right? An injury can kill you. You're scrolling and cursor's about to give me a seizure. It's hard to show you, man, if I don't move the mouse. So comparing this team to that team that was good last year using that strategy, which is an underused strategy by the field, I don't think it's as good, right? Like A.J. Brown, London, Pittman, Metcalf is not quite A.J. Brown, Lamb, Debo. But hopefully, we're like I think it's also less like we don't have Gabe Davis. We have Worthy and Watson. And Watson's hopefully healthy. We'll see. And maybe I'll go 9-7. 2-9-7-2. Yeah, like if McCaffrey's here, I think we'll grab him actually. Stacks with Jaden Daniels. And is like the last wideout that you feel good clicking in some ways. So I lied. We are going 7. But it's a nice 7th to add. 3rd round wide receiver who's drawing live to be the second target there and gives us a stack with Daniels, which is nice. And I think like this running back room is actually pretty decent. Ford should give you points to begin the year minimum. And then Corum, Wright, Ray, you're swinging it upside there. The 20 rounds really lets you do some extra things. And then we get Chuba 20 picks past ADP, which I still think he's solid, right? Like he's not going to be as good as he was last year, but he was pretty good last year. And now you get to the rounds where you're taking running backs who are not drafted at 100% clip. And really the thesis of them is not all that different than the RB2s we feel good about, where, right, like the only reason why guys like Ty Chandler, Kendre Miller, Bucky Irving, right, Gibson, the only reason why most of these running backs are ranked higher is because they're the RB2 or you feel like you do. Doesn't mean that they have like a better projection if they're seeing the field than a guy like Will Shipley, who maybe Will Shipley's the RB2, maybe it's the RB3. That ambiguity is giving you a huge discount on arguably a better team. I mean, like unquestionably a better team, right? Would you rather have the Eagles starting running back if something happened to Saquon? Evan Hull. Maybe he's the RB2. Maybe he doesn't see the field. Isaac Guerendo and Elijah Mitchell. The market's paralyzed with fear. What do? We don't know who the 49ers backup is. So they're just not drafting CMC's backup at a high clip. Braylon Allen. Maybe he's the running back, right? So they're giving you good teams, maybe backup running backs. And it's our job to decide which ones are worth the gamble on. Is it crazy? I've been trying 3 running back builds and going heavy elsewhere. I don't like 3 running backs in any format. I think adding a 4th is almost always good. And I mean, there's the injury concerns, right? Similar to this fragile wideout build. But you can go 3 early, and your 4th can be Ray Davis. Your 4th can be Jalen Wright. Your 4th can be later in the rounds, right? I don't think it's crazy to zig. Because some of these wideouts are good values, right? Like a guy like Jalen Polk, he's climbing, but could be the starting wideout in New England. I think a team that will be a lot better this year. Leggett could be the starting wideout. I like all these rookie wideouts. I think Pearsall will see the field. WSOP this year, I think I'm going to make it out for maybe 1 week or maybe like 3 days here and then 3 days here again. But I'm going to Ireland later in the summer, so I'm not going to go a long time because with me launching the site and streaming and writing, it's just too much. So I'm going to make it out. I just don't know when. What do you think of Kenny Gainwell? Is he worth drafting at all? I think he is worth drafting, right? I think last year was a weird year for the Eagles running backs where like really none of them paid off from a touchdown perspective. And that could be changing with Hurts getting banged up in back-to-back years. I prefer drafting Will Shipley, but I could be wrong, right? It could be like drafting Zach Evans over Kyron Williams. So I don't think he's a guy you should be going out of your way and windmilling in. But he's definitely a guy you could draft at like 3 to 5% right now before we have like hard news and then adjust, right? If you get early news from training camp, or if I go through the training camp news, which I will be doing, and tell you like, hey, this guy's a good target, you can start regularly drafting him. But there are some guys that just make sense to wait a little bit on the news. So yes, really any team where it's ambiguous if let's get Roshan. I think that's a great click. Any team where it's ambiguous if they are actually the RB2 or if maybe they're the RB3, I think they're clickable. And every single year we see running backs hit the field that are not being drafted in best ball. Like one year, the year that the backup was Deion Jackson to Jonathan Taylor in Best Ball Mania, I had one of like only 5 Deion Jackson teams in all of Best Ball Mania. People just didn't draft JT's backup that year. Sure, Will Shipley. Goes along with our A.J. Brown stack. And it's good not to abandon your priors. Mike mentioning here how he had high hopes for Gainwell. There was that like, I mean, I think Gainwell showed us what he is, right? Like, I doubt he's going to be a high upside player unless something happens to Saquon, and maybe even not then. And maybe they both need an injury to Hurts to like be the goal line back. The team so far, and I don't build all my teams this way, by the way, but I think it's an underutilized build that can be good. We got Richardson and Jaden Daniels at quarterback. We got Jerome Ford, Blake Corum, Jalen Wright, Ray Davis, Chuba Hubbard, Roshan Johnson, Will Shipley at running back. We got Ferg and Goddard at tight end. And then our wideouts are A.J. Brown, Drake London, Michael Pittman, Xavier Worthy, Christian Watson, and Luke McCaffrey. As far as Week 17 stacks, we have London, Daniels, and McCaffrey. We have Ferguson, Goddard, and Will Shipley. We have add AJ Brown to that Dallas Philly game. No, we have Metcalf and Roshan Johnson. We have Jerome Ford and Jalen Wright. And that is it. But like, I wasn't even like really like going out of my way to week 17 stack. He just fell into some nice ones. Particularly like that we have Jaden Daniels, Drake London, and Luke McCaffrey. You see this guy clearly prefers, he doesn't like rolling the dice on the rookies, right? He's got his Damian Pierce. He's got A.J. Dillon. Pierce is interesting. I don't know what happened last year. I was pretty high on him going into the year. But they drafted a running back in the 6th round, Jawar Jordan. So maybe they view Jordan as a better scheme fit. Mitchell is the backup. Grendo might not even be the 3rd back. Yeah, I'm just not, I'm not as confident as you are there. Maybe. Rookie running backs, like, I think it could be argued to have a little too many rookies here, but we got some veterans to even them out. Year 2 is typically a good bet for running back for many players, honestly. Like, I mean, come on. Donovan Peoples-Jones or a random running back dart? Give me the random running back dart. I like Evan Hull. He also stacks with Richardson. I think if Hull didn't get hurt last year, he would be valued like around Chase Brown. But maybe it's it. And the other reason I like Hull is I'm real confident that God, who's the big slow running back that the Colts have? I'm real confident that Trey Sermon is not good. And then, yeah, I mean, with my last 2 picks, I get a gamble that I have Jonathan Taylor's backup with my last 3 picks. Saquon Barkley's backup, Jonathan Taylor's backup, CMC's backup. Could be wrong, which of course means they're just absolute zeros of a pick. And maybe those guys don't get hurt, which again would put these guys closer to a 0. But that's drafting for upside. So 2972, A.J. Brown, London, Pittman, Metcalf, Richardson, Worthy, Ferguson, Watson, Daniels, Goddard, Ford, Corum, Wright, Davis, McCaffrey, Chuba, Roshan, Shipley, Hull, Garendo. Obviously, we're eating a 0 at QB week 14. Someone asked me in the comments, what do you do when you just don't advance by 10 points because your quarterbacks have the same bye? Well, you lose then, just like you do almost any other time. So, but in theory, we're beating the field at quarterback 16 of the other weeks. So we just live with it then. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hoping I'll feel better soon. Give you some more high energy streams. Hope you enjoyed this one. Help me out, like the video, subscribe, and check out beatbestball.com. I'll have some fresh ranks out later today. Peace out.